starts right now.
Today, a bipartisan group in the Senate reached a moderate gun reform agreement. It sets the legislative framework to address gun violence in the U.S.
But that agreement does not have as strict of a gun reform package compared to the one passed just days ago by the House. The Night Team's Lee Waldman shows us the differences in the two and explains what happens next.
19 days after 21 people, including 19 children, were killed in Robb Elementary, hope for bipartisan gun reform legislation in the Senate. President Joe Biden tweeting, quote, "It does not do everything that I think is needed, but it reflects important steps in the right direction," unquote.
Republican Senators Tillis and Cornyn were critical to the negotiations here. There's been a core group negotiating now for some time since the horrific shootings in Uvalde and in Buffalo.
The agreement includes red flag provisions where the government provides resources for states to create and administer laws that keep weapons from people the court has determined to be dangerous. It also allows for increased background checks for individuals purchasing firearms under the age of 21 and cracks down on straw purchases and gun trafficking. Senator John Cornyn was challenged on Twitter, one user asking if this would have helped in the Uvalde shooting. Cornyn wrote, quote, "Enhanced background check of juvenile court, police, and mental health records would have disclosed what everyone in the community knew. The shooter was a ticking time bomb," end quote. The agreement has a heavy focus on mental health, providing telehealth options for youth and their families, and expanding mental health resources in schools. With 10 Senate Republicans backing this agreement, it is expected to surpass the 60 votes needed to bypass a Senate filibuster. Meanwhile, Wednesday, the House passed what are being called some of the most restrictive gun control measures in years. The House's Protect Our Kids Act would raise the age limit to buy semi-automatic rifles from 18 to 21 and ban high-capacity magazines.
The Second Amendment is here. It is not going anywhere. It is in concrete. But we have the right to put in responsible gun laws, gun safety laws.
Republicans have bet there's not a single bill that has passed of any kind because of their obstruction. So the question should be put to them, not to us.
The Protect Our Kids Act is not expected to pass in the Senate. The Senate agreement also includes framework to harden security at schools. There's hopeful optimism this agreement will turn to full legislation to be presented before the full Senate and then passed before July. Reporting live, Lee Waldman, KSAT 12 News.
Thank you, Lee. And organizers still coming together to provide funds in support of Uvalde. A few benefit concerts happening here in our area. The Night Team's Camila Juarez was out there getting reactions from people who are simply hoping to see change after a tragedy.
South Texans are still looking for ways to help the grieving city of Uvalde. Organizers turned their frustration into action by having a benefit concert in Hondo and another in Atkins. While the focus was to raise funds for Uvalde, the topic of change came up so that other communities don't have to live through the tragedy like a mass shooting.
To look at that, everyone needs to have the ability to seek counseling and talk to therapists, and that should be something that should be offered to everyone.
For some, they say mental health services is the answer. That's just one of the many items proposed in recent legislation on Capitol Hill. Others feel school security is the way to make change.
I think that there needs to be a better point of security, a better point of, contact. Unfortunately, it seems like the turnaround times can be a little too long in tragedies.
One parent even suggesting buzzers, better locks. The discussion of raising the age limit to purchase certain guns has been brought up to Congress, but some people feel it is not enough.
Okay, so what? Guess what? That's just going to be an older shooter. Get rid of those guns. Those are military guns. We don't need them. I'm a gun owner, but it's locked. It has a key. It's safe. I need it for protection, and it stays there.
The most frustrating part for one voter is the lack of change from those who represent their community.
And that's all just due to division in our political system. People aren't really working together. If people would put their differences aside, work together, as a team instead of individuals, I feel like we can get a lot done.
Now, all of the people we spoke with say if nothing changes, they will be disappointed, angry, upset, and more motivated to take action, like what we saw today, organizing for things they believe in. Live in San Antonio, Camelia Juarez, KSAT 12 News.
Thank you, Camelia. Of course, the focus has been on mass shootings like the one in Uvalde, but we want to bring attention to the violent weekend we've had here in San Antonio. Just since Friday, we've had 5 shootings, 3 of them deadly. The violent weekend in San Antonio began Friday night just before 9. A 26-year-old man was found shot dead inside of his vehicle in the parking lot of an apartment complex on the southwest side. There was no trace of the suspect or the suspect's vehicle, and investigators are still looking for them. 2 hours later on the east side, a shooting left a 66-year-old mother dead and her 38-year-old son injured. Police found them both on the front porch of their home. Someone came down the street firing out of their vehicle. Police are still searching for that suspect, too. Fast forward to Saturday afternoon around 3 o'clock when police say 2 people began firing at cars on Highway 90 near Southwest 36th Street. An SUV with 2 people inside told police gunshots came through their car, hitting one of them in the leg, the other in the backside. Soon after, a report came in for another vehicle damaged by bullets. Luckily, no one inside was hurt. Eventually, police were able to arrest 2 people after their vehicle crashed on the highway. Then today, tragedy continued. Police called to 2 different shootings. The first at 6 a.m. near North Star Mall left 2 women dead and another in critical condition. Police found around 50 shell casings at the scene and believe a 9mm and an AK-47 were used in the shooting. 2 suspects have been identified, but neither has been tracked down yet. Then at 3 this afternoon, a 12-year-old girl was injured as she played outside her family's West Side apartment complex. The girl looked down and saw her left foot was bleeding. Police believe she was hit by shrapnel from a bullet. She is stable at the hospital, and SAPD is still working to figure out where the gunfire came from. If you have any information about the several shootings we mentioned where suspects have not been found, you're asked to please call SAPD at 210-207-7273.
This week, we're heading into the final days of the funeral services for the victims of the Uvalde school massacre. The funerals have been going on nearly every day since May 30th. There were no funerals today, but there was a visitation and a rosary for Tess Mata. According to her obituary, she was an athlete at heart who enjoyed softball, soccer, and gymnastics. She was survived by her parents and sister. Her funeral is set for tomorrow at Sacred Heart Catholic Church. The last victim to be laid to rest will be 10-year-old Layla Salazar. Her visitation will be this Wednesday at Rushing Estes Knolls Mortuary, followed by a prayer service the same day, and then her funeral the next.
New on the Nightbeat, we are learning more information about 2 people who died after being run over by a boat on Canyon Lake. First responders were called to the scene around 4:30 p.m. on Friday in a cove just north of Canyon Lake Marina. A 54-year-old man who owned the boat and a 22-year-old woman both went into the water while a group of others remained on the boat. Police say somehow the boat ran them over the propeller, causing fatal injuries. They were pronounced dead at the scene. We are still waiting to learn their identities.
We have an update on the car fire outside the San Antonio International Airport. We first told you about it last night. The suspect taken into custody is now facing charges of arson for the incident. According to the airport police, the 35-year-old man allegedly set his rental vehicle on fire at the nearby gas station before driving towards the airport terminals. Moments later, police say the vehicle exploded as if it had ammunition inside. Airport security video helped lead to the suspect's arrest.
San Antonio police say speed and alcohol were factors in a chain reaction crash on I-10 overnight. The crashes happened just after 2 a.m. near Callahan Road. Police say a car was speeding on the access road when it slammed into a white car. That white car then slammed into an SUV. The first driver being investigated for DWI, and the passenger inside that car had to be taken to the hospital for a head injury. The drivers and passengers inside those other 2 vehicles, though, were treated at the scene.
As of today, international travelers will no longer need to show proof of a negative COVID test to enter the U.S. It's welcome news for the travel industry as the summer vacation season gears up. The CDC says the requirement is no longer necessary thanks to vaccines and treatments, but still, more than 53 million eligible Americans remain unvaccinated. Young children are still not able to get vaccinated, although that soon could change. This week, the FDA and CDC are set to review data from Moderna and Pfizer on their vaccines for children under 5. This as the country is currently seeing an average of 110,000 new cases a day. Health officials caution the actual number of cases could be higher, with many people testing at home and not reporting the results.
Well, inflation costs affect all of us on an individual level, but even more so on a community level. That was the topic of discussion this morning during our Leading SA segment on GMSA. We spoke with San Antonio Food Bank President and CEO Eric Cooper, who talked about how inflation is forcing them to readjust how they give back to the community.
It's meant that we just haven't had the supply to meet the demand, and the demand is going up as the economy's kind of feeling these effects. We're seeing more and more families, and we want them to know that we're going to be there for them. I think our strategy right now is just rationing what food we have a little thinner to make sure that nobody goes without.
Cooper goes on to talk about their summer food programs for kids. To learn more or to sign your child up, just head to KSAT.com. While you're there, you can also watch the full interview.
Well, I hope you had a great weekend. Hope you found a good way to stay cool. That was certainly necessary as we look outside with live cam tonight. Temperatures still near 90, and it was another scorcher today. You probably knew that already, but just in case you missed it earlier, we got up to 105 degrees this afternoon at the airport, tying the old record for today's date, also 105. That was set back in 1942. That after a morning low of 76. This is the first time San Antonio has seen 105 degrees since July 14th of 2020, 698 days ago. So a significant temperature for us today. Coming up, the heat continues this week. Not what we want to hear, but that's what we're looking at in the week ahead. Also, in case you missed it today, Saharan dust has arrived in Texas. I've got the latest outlook for you for the week ahead. And coming up later on in this newscast, an update on the tropics, an area or a disturbance to watch in the days ahead. All that and more in just a bit.
Dead roaches and flies in a kitchen in need of a deep clean. They go behind the kitchen doors of your favorite food spots to see if they can get a passing score. Plus, COVID changed the school year for a lot of students, but for one local senior, it not only affected his education, but his health, how he was able to cope with the diagnosis and still graduate on time.
Plus, the second series of hearings continue tomorrow for the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. Who's expected to testify and the evidence committee members have on hand. It's next.
The January 6th committee releasing details about tomorrow's second televised hearing for last year's Capitol insurrection. Former President Donald Trump's campaign manager will testify as the committee makes its case against Trump.
Members saying today the former president was repeatedly told by advisors that he had lost the election, but the members say he chose to lie about it and spark violence. Here's ABC's Andrew Dimberg with the details.
The House Select Committee investigating the January 6th attack on the Capitol will hold its second day of televised hearings Monday morning. Bill Stepien is set to take the stand. He was President Donald Trump's former campaign manager and data expert. Also scheduled to testify on Monday, Chris Steyerwalt, a former Fox News political editor who helped with the decision to call Arizona for President Joe Biden. The focus of Monday's hearing will be events immediately following the 2020 election. The committee plans to lay out evidence it says shows President Trump chose to lie about the election results despite being told repeatedly by his closest advisors that he had lost. Democratic Representative Jamie Raskin, who is on the Select Committee, telling CNN,
he had to have known he was spreading a big lie, and he continues to spread it to this very day.
The committee says it's looking to show how Trump's lies motivated those who attacked the Capitol on January 6th. During last week's hearing, Republican Committee Vice Chair Liz Cheney accused some sitting Republican members of Congress of seeking pardons for trying to overturn the election results. Republican Congressman Scott Perry, whom she mentioned by name, is calling Cheney's accusations a, quote, ludicrous and soulless lie. But Democratic Congressman Adam Schiff says the committee has evidence to back up that claim.
I think that is some of the most compelling evidence of a consciousness of guilt.
Schiff was pressed on whether the goal of the committee is for the former president to be indicted by the Justice Department.
Once the evidence is accumulated by the Justice Department, it needs to make a decision about whether it can prove to a jury beyond a reasonable doubt the president's guilt or anyone else's. But they need to be investigated if there's credible evidence, which I think there is.
Andrew Dimbert, ABC News, New York.
Well, everyone knows that we're going to be hot for the foreseeable future,
right.
But we have another factor kind of rolling in, and it made a big wave overnight.
Yeah, moved in last night, it was noticeable today, and that's the Saharan dust that we've been talking about. So yeah, not only is it still going to be hot, it's also going to be hazy over the next several days. And this dust is really most noticeable when you're taking some of the big flyovers around town and you get a view of the horizon or even the downtown skyline. So this is from one of our cameras looking south toward downtown. You can see the Tower of the Americas there. And I went back and I grabbed a screenshot from yesterday afternoon. So Saturday at 2:05 p.m. That's the top picture. And then today at 2:05 p.m. That's the bottom image there. And you can see it looks like there's almost kind of a filter on the picture from today, and that's because we did have a haze out there because of the Saharan dust that moved in today. There's a lot of it out across the Gulf of Mexico, the Caribbean. This is all being pushed in from the Atlantic because of the trade winds. This is something we see often this time of year. It kind of goes hand in hand with hurricane season. So we've had some dust move in, and it's going to continue to filter in and out over the course of this week, potentially lingering into the upcoming weekend. At times, we'll likely have some denser concentrations of this dust in place, so it could look a little more hazy some days as compared to others. It looks like Thursday could be a day with some denser dust in place. By the upcoming weekend, a little of it is still hanging around, but then it starts to thin out. So just keep in mind, this is something that we'll be seeing over the course of this week. Hot and now also hazy conditions in the week ahead. Yeah, we've still got a couple more days of triple-digit heat Monday and Tuesday. And then middle back half of this week, I got a little relief for you, but really not much. We'll still be staying in the upper 90s. Again, a record high temperature today, 105 this afternoon, tying the old record for today from back in 1942. Still in the low 90s out there right now at the airport. It's 91. Southeast wind 16 miles per hour. So we have had a good breeze kick in this evening, and that's really good because the heat index even at this hour is still 97, so that's what it feels like. A note about air quality and the Saharan dust that has moved in. Folks sometimes get a little bit concerned about what that could mean for air quality. Typically, it doesn't really affect our air quality. It would have to be a very, very dense plume of that dust to affect our air quality at all. So today our air quality has been moderate, and that's where we do expect it to stay for the next several days. But some folks are especially sensitive to that dust, especially folks that have respiratory conditions. So just know a few folks may feel a little under the weather. A lot of the times with this dust, it's allergy-like symptoms more than anything else. Temperatures elsewhere, 87 in Converse, 88 Canyon Lake, 89 in Comfort, and 93 in Hondo. It's 94 in Cotulla, still 96 in Del Rio, and 88 up in Rock Springs. Again, a nice breeze in place. We had a pretty good breeze in place today. Tomorrow, it'll actually be a little bit windy at times with some higher gusts up near 30 miles per hour. It was hot here across South Central Texas, also hot elsewhere across the state. High in San Angelo today, 108, 109 Abilene, and 107 in Lubbock. And the culprit, of course, is the heat high. Now, things start to change a little bit this week. It moves off to the east, so it loosens its grip on Texas just a bit. That's why we bring your highs back down into the upper 90s. Again, not a whole lot of relief, but a little something. And this changes our overall weather pattern. It brings in more of a southeasterly flow off the Gulf of Mexico. That'll keep humidity a little bit higher this week, and it'll also keep more clouds around. That seems like a very simple thing, right? But think about this weekend. Just aside from some brief morning clouds, nothing but sunshine. At least we'll be able to buy ourselves some fair weather cloud cover in the week ahead to provide a little bit of shade. So I know it's not all the relief we need, but at least things are shaking up just a little bit, and we'll get that heat high out of here at least for a few days. Tomorrow morning, it'll be warm and muggy as you head out the door. Brief morning clouds and then mostly sunny into your Monday afternoon. Triple digits on the board again for your Monday, and another triple digit day on Tuesday. We'll do a little bit better, you guys. I know 99, 98, not exactly what we're wanting, but we'll take what we can get.
Yeah, whatever relief possible we'll take. Exactly. I think we are still in 100-degree temperature up until like 7:30, almost 8 o'clock today.
Ridiculous.
So that breeze, much appreciated.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much, Katie. A preview of Instant Replay after this. Led by Steph Curry, the Golden State Warriors were able to leave Boston with a win to even up the NBA Finals. With more on what's an instant replay tonight, let's check in with Larry Ramirez.
That was an insane performance. 7 of 14 from three-point range. I mean, Steph was certainly on fire. It was a great shooting performance by Steph, that's for sure. He saved the day for the Dubs. Are coming up tonight on a brand new edition of Instant Replay.
We talked about that. We feel like I've said it plenty of times. We have a lot left in the tank in terms of what we can do out there on the floor.
Steph and the Warriors are being called the old guys when compared to the Boston Celtics, and clearly Curry has a lot of game left in him. And did you know that 9 members of the Spurs family are a part of this year's NBA Finals? We have that list for you. Plus.
1-2. Cut on and missed.
In college baseball, the Texas A&M Aggies won a thrilling 2-game super regional with Louisville. Both games went down to the final at bat. Andrew Seeley has the highlights, and he'll let you know how the Longhorns are doing right now in their weather-delayed Game 3 win, and the Horns are going to Omaha. D'Hanis is the best Class 1A baseball team in the state. The Cowboys joined the school's softball team by winning the UAL state championship. We will hear from the Cowboys coming up. Plus, San Antonio FC got a key player back from injury, and he scored in his first match back. Tony Parker joins us to talk about the Spurs, and his life-size superheroes and villains collection is pretty cool. And PGA Tour players are leaving for the controversial LIV Golf Tour, where every player makes the cut and earns a paycheck. That and more tonight, guys, on a brand new edition of Instant Replay right after the night.
I watched the LIV tournament, and I have some thoughts.
Okay.
Won't share them here, but
we need to have you on the Sports Guys with us.
that was good. Hey, yeah, sports folks. I'm in.
Sports folks, yes.
Sports. I'm glad you guys like it. Coming up, a new law focuses on baby safety when they sleep. What parents need to know about the Safe Sleep Babies Act.
Members of a white supremacy group spotted and arrested the plans police say they had for a nearby Pride event.
And can repeat offenders step up and get a higher score from the health inspector? We find out in our latest Behind the Kitchen Door.
Dead insects in the kitchen and several repeat violations. It's bad news for a Northwest Side restaurant.
The Night Team's Tim Gerber dropped by to see how the restaurant is doing now.
It's tonight's Behind the Kitchen Door.
When inspectors visited Real Pho, located in the 11,200 block of Petranco, they found all kinds of violations, including 5 repeats. Their refrigerators were running warm, showing a temp of 50 when it should be 41 or lower. They were also missing thermometers. The inspector found dead roaches and flies in the kitchen that needed to be cleaned up. So did a lot of other things, including the insides of all the freezers and refrigerators and the ventilation hood, which hadn't been cleaned since December of last year. It was full of grease and food debris. The restaurant earned a failing score of 69, a big drop from their last inspection in January when they earned an 81.
Hi, I'm Tim with KSAT 12. Yeah.
I stopped by this week to see what happened.
You guys got a pretty low score on this one last time. Have you guys been able to fix the violations that were on there?
Oh, yes, we do. We try to fix it, yeah. I just took over the restaurant, yeah.
Yeah, were you surprised by the score?
Oh, yes.
The owner took me behind the kitchen door to show me they have corrected the violations. Metro Health ordered a re-inspection, but the owner says they haven't returned. Kong's Express, located in the 900 block of Czar Zamora, came in with a score of 74. The inspector saw cooked chicken waiting to be recooked inside a non-working refrigerator. Food containers were dirty with food debris, and the ice machine had mold-like debris inside. The manager on site couldn't properly explain the wash, rinse, and sanitizing process. There were cockroaches spotted stuck to a sticky trap, and the AC vent above the food prep area was dirty with dust buildup. 8 violations were corrected at the time of the inspection, but Kong's still earned a re-inspection. That's what's going on behind the kitchen door this week. I'm Tim Gerber, KSAT 12 News.
You can catch Tim's BKD reports weekly right here on the Nightbeat. Several restaurants also got perfect scores. To see who did a good job, take your phone and scan this QR code. It'll take you to our perfect scores database on KSAT.com.
Tonight, 31 men are facing conspiracy to riot charges after being arrested in Idaho near a pride event. According to officials there, the men are members of the white supremacist group Patriot Front. The arrest coming after authorities were alerted by a concerned citizen. Police say they found the group packed into a U-Haul wearing matching Patriot arm patches and logos, armed with riot gear. Authorities say they found documents showing the group was planning to riot, carrying at least one smoke grenade. The men come from at least 12 other states, including Texas.
In my opinion, I would gladly arrest 31 individuals who are coming to riot in our city for a misdemeanor rather than have them participate in some sort of seriously disruptive event, which is exactly what they were planning in downtown area.
The Patriot Front is described by the Anti-Defamation League as a white nationalist hate group that formed after the deadly Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia in 2017.
After several tragic drownings around the U.S. and even here in Texas, experts are stressing the importance of safety around water. Two 13-year-old boys drowning in New York City on Friday in an area known for dangerous currents. And earlier in the week, two teenage brothers drowning in New Jersey in a New Jersey pool with reportedly 3 lifeguards around them on duty. In Colorado, 13 people drowned this year. They're on a horrific track to set a new state record. Officials with the National Drowning Prevention Alliance say parents have to be completely focused when their kids are in the water, especially if they don't know how to swim.
There's been about 82,000 people that have drowned from unintentional water drownings in the past 20 years. They're not acts of God. They're incidences that were good safety, good precautions, if they're taken.
Experts add it's really important to know how to revive someone because 1 out of every 4 of us will be in a room at one point where someone either needs CPR or the Heimlich maneuver.
Well, as parents, we know that it can be exhausting trying to get a baby to fall asleep. It's tempting to use different products to help, but are they safe? A new law takes effect in 11 days that bans some popular products you may be using. 12 on your side's Marilyn Moritz takes a closer look at what's covered and, just as important, what's not.
I'm grateful to our lawmakers for helping us protect babies when the manufacturers won't.
Sarah Thompson's 15-week-old son Alexander died 11 years ago while in a Fisher-Price Rock and Play sleeper. This popular product was sold for a decade before it was recalled after investigations revealed at least 32 deaths tied to the Rock and Play and other infant incline sleepers. The design, specifically their incline, makes them inherently dangerous for infant sleep. Now, the new Safe Sleep for Babies Act officially bans incline sleepers and crib bumper pads. Combined, they have been linked to nearly 200 reported deaths.
This legislation is an absolutely critical step to help parents and caregivers keep their babies out of unsafe sleep environments. People should be able to trust that if infant sleep products are for sale, they're safe.
But the ban still does not cover some products marketed for sleep, but that do not conform to pediatricians' recommendations, like infant hammocks and in-bed sleepers. Consumer Reports urges parents only use products covered by federal standards, such as cribs, play yards, and bassinets. And no stuffed animals or soft bedding. These can be suffocation hazards for an infant because they're just not strong enough to roll back over when they can't breathe. The American Academy of Pediatrics says babies should be placed on their backs on a firm, flat surface for safe sleep. Marilyn Moritz, KSAT 12 News.
All right, we're getting this temperature below 90 now, slowly, but at least it's happening. It's been a scorcher of a weekend, some significant heat here, and just a friendly reminder, technically it is not summer yet, but it felt every bit like it over the last couple of days. Here's a look at how high temperatures played out elsewhere. Tied a record in San Antonio and also up in Austin. Got as hot as 107 in Hondo, 106 in Del Rio, 111 in Cotulla. Unfortunately, it looks like we've got an error there with our Uvalde sites. Was warmer than 89 this afternoon there. So here in San Antonio, today is our 12th 100-degree day of the year, and we'll be adding to this number even over the next couple of days, tomorrow and again on Tuesday. We'll take another look at your work week forecast, also get you a check of what's going on in the tropics coming up here in just a bit. John Paul.
Some things that hopefully take your mind off the heat. Dinosaurs, fighter jets, superheroes, and animation. It's definitely summer at the box office. We'll show you the early estimates for the weekend's top 5 films.
And a local senior graduates on time after being diagnosed with a rare blood disorder. How he overcame those challenges to make that walk across the stage. Well, he missed his entire junior year and half of his senior year of high school after testing positive for COVID-19, which triggered a rare genetic blood disorder.
And this Pleasanton High School graduate still managed to graduate on time and hopes to pursue a career in the medical field. Sarah Costa introduces us to a great graduate who is lucky to be alive and lucky to have walked the stage.
Harrison led a very normal high school life, a healthy student athlete who was a high-ranking power lifter at the state level. Then spring break of his junior year, everything changed. He tested positive for COVID-19. His symptoms were mild. But a few days later, his health rapidly declined, COVID-19 triggering an unknown underlying disease.
And then a week later, I have the stroke, and I get admitted back into the hospital, and my platelets are at 3,000. And from there, I don't remember anything.
After several weeks of trying to figure out what was causing his blood platelets to be so low, he was eventually diagnosed with a rare genetic blood disorder called TTP. He was transferred to Houston and spent 2 more months in the hospital there. He endured 2 strokes, many blood transfusions, and plasma exchanges. His parents by his side the whole time, teaching him how to walk, talk, and eat again, even teaching him how to do math again.
Without them, I think I'd be in a lot worse place mentally, because they've definitely helped a lot, and I don't like to talk about it a lot, but when I do talk about it, they're always there, and they went through it with me.
Once doctors were able to diagnose Harrison, he says he is on a good path to being healthy and leading a normal life with weekly treatments. Even before his near-death experience, he wanted to be a nurse, but now he wants to take his future career a step further.
That made me want to become a hematologist and specifically study TTP so I could help other people with my blood disorder.
His health science teacher, Stephanie Cook, says she knows he'll make a great doctor one day, especially with his experience.
When we talk about scenarios, he understands them. He's very intrigative, just wanting to really not only learn, but then he's also able to give his point from a patient's perspective.
Sarah Acosta, KSAT 12 News.
All right, so we're going into a week where maybe it won't hit 100 at the end, but I still feel like you still got to.
That's terrible. This is like our silver lining. Maybe we won't hit 100.
It's a mental thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Not getting to the triple digits. It's like, oh, it's not that bad, but it really doesn't feel that much different. I can promise you that. I know it's summertime for the kiddos, so we probably have some camps going on. Maybe you're sending the kiddos to day camp tomorrow. Yep, it'll be another hot one, that's for sure. In the morning, 8 o'clock, near 80 degrees. Lunchtime, 91. And then topping out around 101, let's say between about 4 and 6 o'clock tomorrow. Thankfully, a nice steady breeze pretty much all day, especially by lunchtime and then into the hottest part of the day. We'll have our winds between about 10 and 20 miles per hour. Also looking at some big time UV index readings tomorrow afternoon. Extreme levels for our UV index. That means without skin protection, sunburn could start to occur in as little as 10 minutes. So send the kiddos with the sunscreen and plenty of water tomorrow if they'll be heading out to camp. High temperatures tomorrow elsewhere across the metro area. Look for a high around 101 in New Braunfels, also 101 in Seguin, Bernie 99, Hondo 102, Pleasanton 103 for your Monday. We'll get back to the heat, but I want to give you an update on what's going on in the tropics. Things are pretty quiet, especially across the Gulf of Mexico because we've got all that dust moving through. But the National Hurricane Center has flagged an area here east of Cancun in the Yucatan Peninsula for some potential development, some tropical development later this week, the 15th through the 18th. So back half of this week into next weekend. Odds of anything developing here in this yellow region and becoming at least a tropical depression are low. just about 20%. So nonetheless, we'll be watching this area here in the Caribbean over the next few days. By the middle of the week, if things work out just right, we could have an area of low pressure develop here where you see this red and orange color. That's higher moisture content, and that would be favorable for an area of low pressure to try to develop. Again, this is not expected to affect Texas, the Texas Gulf Coast, but could be an issue if you've got vacation plans in Cancun next weekend. Unfortunately, that's not me. I would take my chances with the rain if I were going to Cancun. But anyway, if you've got travel plans down that way, you may want to keep an eye on that, and we'll keep you updated this week. So I mentioned that's not expected to be an issue for the Texas Gulf Coast, and you can see that reflected in the rainfall potential over the next week. Some very low accumulations possible north of Highway 90 here, off closer to the Houston area, and up near Bryan College Station. For us, we've got a dry forecast over the next week. 91 at the airport. We're upper 80s, low 90s out there. Nice southeasterly breeze, thankfully, because our heat indices, the yellow numbers, are still close to 100 in some spots. The heat index is 97 at the airport now, 94 in Pleasanton and Cotulla. Your feels like temperature at this hour still 101. So you're extra thankful for that breeze down in Cotulla with the sustained wind around 18 miles per hour, 20 mile per hour wind in Hondo. A little bit lighter across the hill country, but you probably noticed the breeze today. The wind will also be more noticeable over the next several days. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we're looking at sustained winds 10 to 20 miles per hour, but we could have some gusts those 3 days up near 30 miles per hour. So a more noticeable wind for us tomorrow and over the next few days. That's, it's nice. Sometimes it feels like you're just standing in front of a hair dryer at times because it will still be hot, but at least that wind keeps things moving just a little bit. Breezy by Thursday as the wind speeds start to drop off. Again, the Saharan dust is here and it will continue to kind of filter in and out all week long. If you want to read a little bit more about this dust, we've got a lot of information about it on KSAT.com and the KSAT weather app, where it comes from, how it gets here, and what effect it can have on us, guys.
It'll be very windy for Flag Day, though, at least.
Yeah, exactly.
True. That's
See
very
the
fitting.
flags waving in the wind. I just noticed that.
A viewer texted me this afternoon. He said, just some advice, buy a kiddie pool to stay cool. He said it's good for adults, kids, dogs, and you just dump it into the grass when you're done. Dave from LaSoya, appreciate the tip.
We'll think about it. All right. We'll be right back.
Hey, look, it's a cat stuck in a tree.
The bad guys have spent 8 weeks in the top 5. $2.25 million put the animated adventure at $92 million domestic. The Bob's Burgers movie slid to 4th, earning $2.3 million in its 3rd weekend out. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness made $4.9 million for 3rd place and a domestic total of $398 million. Top Gun Maverick lost the top spot as expected, but $50 million put the long-awaited sequel at $393 million domestic, poised to pass Doctor Strange as the top-grossing movie released in 2022.
We made a terrible mistake.
Jurassic World Dominion arrived with a roar. Despite weak reviews, the final film in the latest Dino trilogy opened strong with $143.4 million. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
The NBA Finals is down to a best-of-3 series between the Boston Celtics and the Golden State Warriors.
Plus, Spurs great Tony Parker, who knows all about winning NBA championships, shares his thoughts on the finals. For more What's in Instant Replay, let's check in with Larry Ramirez.
That's right. 4-time NBA champion Tony Parker. It's always great to catch up with him. You know, Tony has friends on both teams in the finals, so I think he's going right down the middle in this series. Coming up tonight on a brand new edition of Instant Replay.
They love it. They're in the middle of this, so every time they go to the gym, they love and so when I told them I was going to send them in the museum, they were like not happy. I was like, don't worry, it's just an exhibit, just 3 months, they're coming back.
That's too funny. Tony Parker had to reassure his kids that his Heroes and Villains collection at the San Antonio Museum of Art will return home when the exhibit ends in September. We've got a preview for you. Plus, Tony will talk about the future of Coach Pop. Just how much longer will he continue to lead the Silver and Black? Also tonight.
They treat us like every other crowd. They're cheering for their team, and they don't like us whenever we do anything, so it is what it is.
Can Derek White and the Boston Celtics go back to Golden State and win Game 5? History during their current postseason run is on their side. After a very long road trip, SAFC is coming back home to play at Toyota Field, and they are excited about it. Plus, later this week, the San Antonio Missions will raise money to benefit the Robb School Memorial Fund, and a minor leaguer stealing home makes our play of the week. That and much more coming up on Instant Replay in a few minutes after the Night Beat.
Lots of good stuff to keep an eye on. Thanks for that, Larry.
And we'll be right back after this.
Before we go, how about we tell you something good?
Today, the Pride Center of San Antonio honored one of our very own KSAT digital journalists, Ivan Herrera. He was named the 2022 Media Icon for shedding a positive light on the LGBTQ plus community. Ivan works behind the scenes here at KSAT, producing our South Texas Pride series and writing a lot of the stories you see on KSAT.com.
That's all our time for now. Thanks for watching KSAT 12.
Be sure to tune into GMSA for all your latest overnight news. An all-new Instant Replay starts right now.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome live to Instant Replay. Greg Simmons has the night off. By this time next Sunday, we'll have an NBA champion between Boston and Golden State. The series could wrap up Thursday night with Game 6 or next Sunday with a winner-take-all Game 7. Either way, a handful of former Spurs will win a championship ring. More on that in a minute. So the NBA Finals is tied at 2 games all thanks to Steph Curry putting the Warriors on his back Friday night in Game 4. He finished with 43 points, 10 rebounds, and he made 7 three-pointers to lead the Warriors to a 107-97 win to tie the series at 2-all heading back to Cali for Game 5. That was Curry's second 40-point performance in the NBA Finals in his career. Now, Boston had a chance to win Game 4. They led 94-90 with 5:18 to go, then got outscored 17-3 to close out the game. Curry is playing his 6th NBA Finals in 8 years and absolutely enjoys playing on the biggest stage the NBA has to offer.
I love every experience at this stage because there's so much attention on what we do. You understand the whole world's watching you when you're out there on the court, and you're obviously keeping in mind what you're playing for and be the last team standing. So I love everything about it.
In the word of the day, focus. I think focus is something that for us is different from game to game. And it's almost human nature. When our backs is against the wall a little bit, we play with a little bit more focus and determination and intensity. And sometimes when we're a little too comfortable. So, I would like our focus to be, intense. And I would like our focus to be, at a high level coming into Game 5.
Boston is 7-0 following playoff losses this postseason, so they have that. And hey, from former players to coaches or both, 9 members of the Spurs family are hoping to win the NBA championship. That's 5 with Boston and 4 more with Golden State. Let's take a look, and here they are. Celtics guard Derek White, Warriors guard Quindary Weatherspoon, and Warriors head coach Steve Kerr, who all played for the Spurs. Warriors assistant coaches Mike Brown and Ron Adams, both are former Spurs assistants. Celtics head coach Ime Udoka, who played and coached under Greg Popovich. Boston assistant Will Hardy, who was on Pop's staff for years. Celtics assistant Damon Stoudemire, who played briefly with the Spurs. And finally, Boston assistant coach Ben Sullivan, a former video intern and player development with San Antonio. So here's the rest of the NBA Finals. All games are live on KSAT 12. Game 5 tomorrow night, 8 o'clock at Golden State. Game 6 Thursday, 8 p.m. at Boston. And Game 7, if necessary, Sunday, 7 p.m. at Golden State.
Yeah, I just started a collection because I'm a big fan of all that, and I just wanted to create a unique atmosphere at my gym. I have like a half-court gym, and all the statues they're around it, and I just wanted to create a unique experience, for my friends, family, and my kids. My kids, they love it.
It's a side of Tony Parker we haven't seen before. The 4-time NBA champ is lending his private collection of life-size statues to the San Antonio Museum of Art. The exhibit is called Tony Parker's Heroes and Villains. It features more than 40 pieces and runs through September 4th. Besides the statues, we want to know Tony's thoughts on this year's NBA Finals, since Parker has a connection to some of the players and coaches we just showed you.
I'm just happy for all of them. When you see Ime and Steve, I play with both of them. I won a championship with Steve, won a championship with Ime, and it's just funny for me to see them, battling now for a championship. I'm just happy for them. Happy for Will too, obviously, because he started from the bottom, and to see him grow for me is the picture of the U.S. In the U.S. is a land of opportunity, and you can start from the bottom and go all the way to the top. So congrats to all of them, and I hope the best win. I can't really have a favorite. I love Ime, I love Steve. So I did predict, Warriors in 7, but it's looking good for Boston now.
2007 NBA Finals MVP also shared his thoughts on the current Spurs team, which have not made the playoffs for 3 straight seasons.
I think we have a young team, obviously a talented team, and when you have young players, you never know how fast they're gonna take that big jump, and so you just have to be patient. I like the piece that we have. It will take some time, before we have a team that can be, contend, for conference finals or NBA finals. But we'll see. Hopefully it will happen soon. Hopefully the guys that we have will work hard in the summer to do those big jumps faster.
We also had to ask if TP9 had any insight on the future plans of Spurs head coach Greg Popovich.
I have no idea. If I was him, I will go have a wine and champagne and travel the world, but he loves it. He's passionate about it. We have a big dinner at my house in July, one of the biggest Bordeaux, and so I will ask him, like, how long, Pop? Because, man, the world is nice. You should come travel with me. Yeah.
Sounds like a lot of fun, right? San Antonio FC has wrapped up their long road trip and are ready to finally play in front of their home fans. SAFC has not played a USL match at Toyota Field since April 30th. Last night they played Monterey Bay FC. Justin Dillon scored in the first half, making his 5th goal in the last 7 matches. The big story was Santiago Patino being subbed in during the second half. He had missed the last 6 matches with a lower body injury, but he used his time wisely, scoring the game-deciding goal in the 82nd minute, his first goal this season.
One of the things we do is we never give up. And the game was tight, and I had the opportunity to come on the field and left everything I had, and I was grateful that the ball came in from PC and I was able to score.
Colorado Springs Switchbacks won their game Saturday, which means they also earned 3 points and remain in first place in the West, with San Antonio ranked 2nd due to goal differential. Before their next USL match, San Antonio FC will host an international friendly on Tuesday at 8 p.m. at Toyota Field against Atletico San Luis of Liga MX. Here's the next USL matchup for San Antonio FC. They will take on the Oakland Roots SC squad Saturday, 8 p.m. at Toyota Field. The Reagan Rattlers baseball team came up 1 win short of claiming their first UIL state title. Reagan beat defending state champs Rockwall Heath in the state semis on Friday 6-0, thanks in part to a stellar performance from pitcher Aiden Coleman. Then in Saturday's state championship game, Reagan jumped out to an early 3-0 lead on South Lake Carroll in the top of the 3rd inning on Britton Moore's RBI single to left. Unfortunately, the Dragons rallied, outscoring the Rattlers 7-2 over the final 4 innings to win the state title 8-5. Head coach Chance Chapman is proud of the team he has this season.
The fight that they've had, man, their love for each other, them coming to practice every day and enjoying the process that we were going through to get to this point. There was really never a day where it's like, it felt like a drag at practice, or it felt like they didn't want to be at practice. I mean, they're just a great group of kids, man. And like I said, their love for each other and what they did this year and the adversity that they face is something that I'll take with me forever.
10 seniors graduate after leading Reagan to the program's 4th state championship game appearance. The entire town of D'Hanis is partying like it's 2019. The Cowboys won the Class 1A state baseball title for the 3rd time in program history on Thursday morning. D'Hanis used a 3-run 5th inning to take control in an eventual 4-0 win against Nazareth. Senior pitcher Ryan Hendry struck out 6 batters in a 3-hit shutout effort and was named the game's most valuable player. But things could have turned out differently if it wasn't for a huge play in the bottom of the 1st inning. With Nazareth runners on 2nd and 3rd, junior Leighton Herman made a running grab on a pop-up and shallow left and then hustled to the bag to double up the lead runner who left early. D'Hanis got out of the jam, and the rest is history.
Saw that ball coming and I thought it was foul at first, but I just kept coming.
And when I got there, I realized my third baseman was coming out too. So when I caught it, I knew nobody was covering. I just kept running, went straight to third.
Biggest play of the game, 100%. I thought to myself, they have a good chance on this. I gotta really, really put up some pitches here, or we might not win this. And he made that play, and I'm like, we stuck it, we got it. It's all ours now.
We've been swinging the bat so well. We've been kind of relying on our offense. We just jumping on teams. And then when we went 3 up, 3 down at the top of the first, they had kind of the momentum. The pendulum kind of swung their way late and making that play. And the coolest part of that was the 7 unassisted. He ran a touch third himself. Tell me how many times you see that in the scorebook. That was just big time momentum for our guys.
Shiner baseball came up 1 win shy of an undefeated season, falling to Valley Mills 4-2 in the Class 2A state championship. You can catch full highlights and reaction from all 3 of these games right now on the BGC page at KSAT.com. The first event in the controversial Live Golf Series was won by Charles Schwartzel yesterday. He led wire to wire in the 54-hole event played at the Centurion Golf Club near London. Schwartzel took home the $4 million first place prize and an additional $750,000 for being part of the winning 4-man team. Live Golf is supported by the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia, which is controlled by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. He's been accused of numerous human rights violations. Now, earlier this week, the PGA Tour suspended 17 golfers who competed in the Live event. So that brings us to tonight's instant replay poll question. If you were a high-ranking player on the PGA Tour right now, which tour would you play for? A, PGA Tour, B, Live Golf. Vote now. We'll have the results at the end of the show tonight. College baseball is heating up with teams advancing to the College World Series in Omaha. The Aggies are moving on to the College World Series. Will the Texas Longhorns join them on game day? Andrew Seeley will have the highlights. The Missions are showing support for those affected by the school shooting in Uvalde. We got the details. And the Missions will have to go the rest of the season without one of their best now that Estuary Ruiz has been promoted to AAA. Plus, the sports guys will talk about the NBA Finals, and did PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan do the right thing by suspending players who played in the Live tourney? When Instant Replay returns after the break.